This is a tutorial on Google Forms in which you can make quizzes. It allows for students to get feedback following the quiz. The feedback can be as detailed as the teacher wants it to be. You are limited to 3 kinds of questions that are scored. Those would be multiple choice, drop-down menu, and checklists. We're going to show you how to set them up. There are certain elements that you have to be aware of, which will be explained as we go along. You could do a docs to forms merge when you're using your text, but that is another lesson. So this is what the Google form looks like when you're producing the form. So this isn't what the taker of the quiz is going to see. Before we get to this stage, I recommend that you create a Google Doc that has all the text you're going to use because you can copy and paste very, very quickly. So I've got my title of my quiz, I've got the instructions, and I have questions 1, 2, and 3. But within each question, I also have the description to support text, and then I have the possible choices for answers, and I've got detailed feedback that explains why they got the answer correct, why it was incorrect, or even more text to extend their learning. So I also recommend that you create a folder in a Google form so that you can put your form/quiz in the folder along with the text so you know exactly where it is. I keep an assessments folder, which is where I normally keep these. So if you want to create a form, which you'll eventually turn into a quiz, for those who don't know, in Google Drive, you would go up to New, and you would scroll down to More, and you would go to Google Forms. When Google Forms populates, you see that there is no file name for the form, which would be up here, a title for the quiz or the survey, and then a place for the description, and then for your questions. You've got icons up here that allow you to preview, to change the settings, which we'll use for the quiz, and to send it via email and social media. That's another tutorial, so we're going to close that and get back to the quiz. So you can see here, I've already created the quiz. I've got my title for the quiz, which the takers will see. I've got instructions, and I just have to tap in that box, and then I can change it. I've also put in, please write your name. So I want my students to write their name. I am going to automatically collect their email addresses, but if they put in their name, it's a lot easier for you to see who's had the correct and incorrect responses if you want to look at individual students. My first question you can see is a checkbox. I've got the question, description text, and the options they have. Check the best 3 options, so that means they would have to choose 3. This is a drop-down menu you can see here. Click the drop-down arrow. In their view, they're going to see these 3 choices, and they will have to choose one. So we want to add another question. So I'm going to put my cursor down here in question 2, and that means when I go up here to the plus button, I can add a question, and it will go underneath number 2. Now I'm going to go back, and I'm going to scroll down to my 3rd question, and I'm going to highlight, I'm going to copy it, and then I'm going to paste it. Now I want descriptive text to help them a little bit more when they take the quiz. So my 3 little dots here, I'm going to click on that and choose to show the description. I'm going to go back, and I'm going to highlight, copy, and paste that in there. And then I'm going to go back and get my questions. Now I can highlight, or sorry, these are my options. I'm going to highlight all of them. I'm going to go back, and under option 1, I'm going to copy and paste. But what you'll see is it creates all these extra options that I don't need. You could, if you want, copy and paste each individual one. But I'm lazy, and I'm going to highlight, copy, paste, and then just delete all these extra options that it gives me. So now that you can see, I've got my 4 different choices. This is a multiple choice question, so I'm going to leave it at that. Just to double check, my second question is a drop-down menu, which is what I want, and my first one is a checkbox question. So now what I want to do is go back here, just make sure that I've made this a required question. I didn't, so I've tapped in. I'm going to slide that over, and now I can see that all of my questions are required, including what's your name. So students have to answer all of them before they can submit. Instead of formatting and using add-ons, I'm just going to go up here to the settings gear. I'll click on that, and I'm going to click here to collect email. I'm going to choose one response per student, but you could allow them, if you want, to go back and answer their questions. Respondents can edit after they submit, see a summary of responses. I don't want them to see a summary of all the other responses, so I'm going to click that, and then I'm going to go up here to where it says quizzes, and I click on that, and here I go to the slider, click that, and now I've made it a quiz. I want them to see after the quiz and when they click submit an option to look at their answers. That's where they'll see the feedback. I'm going to allow them to see their missed questions, the correct answers, and the point values, which we'll learn to assign shortly. So I'm going to click Save, and now that you can see down here, in each of the questions, if we click on them, we are going to get some new options. It's the answer key. Right now it's got 0 points. So I'm going to click on answer key, and for this, there are 3 ways in which we can participate. So I'm going to give them 3 points, 1 point for each correct answer. Now the problem is with checkbox answers, it's all or nothing. You have to get them all correct in order to get the 3 points. Hopefully that will improve over time. The next thing is add answer feedback. So I click on that, and then for incorrect answers and correct answers, I'm going to give feedback. So this is where I go back to my first question, and I'm going to choose the not quite because that's the first one. I'm going to copy that, and for incorrect answers, I'm going to paste the feedback right there. And then I'm going to go to correct answers, and the same thing. I'm going to copy, and I'm going to paste. And there is the feedback for the correct answers. And then I'm going to save, but we're not finished yet. We have to choose which are the correct answers. And in this case, it is this, this, and this. And you'll notice that they're highlighted in green. So that means now the program knows which answers are the correct ones. I'm going to do the same thing for question 2 and 3. So my correct answers for 2, I go to the answer key. I'm going to go to answer feedback. I'll choose correct answers. And then I'm going to find the incorrect answers. The feedback. You'll notice that the feedback is quite similar for these. I'm going to save that. I've noticed that I haven't given any points. This is a drop-down menu with only one possible answer, but if it's a little bit of a deep or difficult question, you might want to give 2. So I'm going to give that one 2 points. And then I'm going to go down to the third one, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to highlight my yes question. I'm going to copy that. And again, go to my answer key. I'm going to give this one, it's a low-level question, so I'm going to give it 1 point. And then the answer feedback for the correct answers, I'm going to paste the yes answer, and then for the not quite, the incorrect answers. I like saying not quite because it seems better than you're wrong. Now, if you want, you could add links to these answers to extend their learning. If you click link, you could put a link in there with text to display that says, go to this website to learn more. You would click add and then save. We're not going to do that right now. So now we've got our quiz ready. I haven't, for these other questions though, put the correct answer. So number 2 is the correct answer for this one. Number 3, the correct answer would be this one right here. And I don't have to really save anything. It automatically saves for you. So you would want to go up and click the little eyeball, and that's your preview button. And then this is how it's going to look to the person taking the quiz. So the next part we're going to show you is if you take the quiz, how it looks. So very quickly, let's take it. Email address. I'm going to put my email address in there. My name. And now I'm going to answer questions. And I'm going to deliberately answer something wrong, in particular the checkbox. Now here, question 2. I'm going to click on the down arrow. The instructions say click the down arrow, so I click there. And I'm going to choose the answer that I think is correct. And the last one, what best describes the use of manipulation, exercise, power. And I'll choose one, and then I click submit. And as it populates, it says here, view your score. So if you click view your score, this is the student view. I got 3 out of 6 on this, so I can see that I've entered my information. You can see here that I got 0 out of 3 on the checkbox, but I got 2 of them correct. That's something hopefully will be improved in the future. But the important thing is the correct answer are these 3 checkboxes, and the feedback is not quite, you made a mistake. I might take the not quite out because it's a checkbox answer. The second one I got correct, and it says, yes, that's right, and it explains a little bit more to extend the learning. And then the third one is correct, and again, it's got the feedback. Of course, if they were incorrect, it would say not quite and explain why it wasn't quite correct. Now, as a teacher, you'll want to go back and see how many responses you got and look at the data. So I would click here, responses, and if I want, I can click here and create a spreadsheet. I can download it as a CSV file, which is the same thing as an Excel file or a Google Sheet. You can get email notifications for new responses if you have other classes doing this, for example. You can delete the responses and refresh it if you're going to use it in the next year. Now, you can see the individual responses here if you want, and it will give the name, and you can go through it and see what they did. I prefer to look at the summary. Let's say we had 10 students doing this question. I would scroll down very quickly and avoid names because you can see my name is here, and go straight to it. And then it gives you the information in the form of a bar graph. Now, if you wanted to, you can turn it into a Google Sheet, download it as a separate sheet. You hit create, and it automatically makes it for you. And if you prefer to look at a pie chart, you would go to form, as we wait for that populate, show summary of responses, and then you can scroll and you can see bar graphs again. It'll have the questions and your pie chart. Of course, if 10 different people answered this, these responses would be different. So basically, that's how you create a Google form that you use for a quiz and get feedback to your students. I recommend using it before a unit test, 4 or 5 days before, so you can see what areas you have to hit as a teacher that students didn't quite get. And again, students themselves, when they see the feedback, they see that. You might want to do it before a whole unit so students can take the quiz, see that they don't really know a lot of information or the ideas in the unit, and then get them to take it towards the end again, and they can see how much they've learned by comparing their answers from the time before. Good luck making your quiz.